Belly, we are ready for one of only 3 games today. Michael, you and I are going to be hanging on for 2 of them. Blue and Star will be coming in the final innings for that last one. And I gotta say, after what we saw yesterday, OXG versus Mirage is going to be a wild matchup. OXG surprised everybody with the role swaps they made. Kino looked exceptional. Mirage obviously making a roster move as well, bringing in Thomas, and after the game, he even spoke out and said, I gotta be better. Well, today's your perfect opportunity to do that because OXG finds themselves in first place after one play day, and that is a hell of an achievement for Mirage if they take them down.
Yeah, going into this one, honestly, my expectations are firmly in the OXG camp. I do think there's a lot of upset potential here for Mirage, though. When you make those changes, like bringing on Thomas, it's definitely going to take some time before everyone feels comfortable. I feel like we've yet to really see the true form of this current iteration of Mirage, so I'm excited to see if maybe that'll show up today or later down the line. We'll find out. But Oxygen have been, yes, changing their roles around, but also with a camp of talent that is so stacked, in my opinion, and is in an underrated fashion. I mean, Kino, Yaga, and Vertical alone, in terms of fragging prowess, so solid. And then you've got Foxay and Laxing to really anchor that team home. Just in general, I think this is Oxygen's stage to shine.
I mean, I can see Oxygen coming back with a vengeance, right? The fact that they didn't make it to the Mexico Major obviously wore away at them. Not that you read too much into the tea leaves of a team or their social media, but it certainly didn't seem like they liked being home all by themselves, right? Especially given how lackluster North America performed at the Mexico Major. So OXG are back with a vengeance, and it was already talked about on the desk. The expectations for this stage, frankly, are pretty low. All you need to do is not finish dead last, and you make it to SI next year. All right, well, that's pretty good. I mean, you don't make it to the Mexico Major. All right, that sucks, but but SI is the ultimate goal. Anyway, Michael, we have a community poll for you today. I'm gonna let you take a stab at it. Let me read it for you. Hold on a second here. It says, Michael, both Foxay and Thomas are known for getting loud, but who will make the most noise in the server?
Okay, in the server, if we're talking literal noise, Thomas without a question. But if we're talking about in terms of performance in the server, oh, that's actually a tough one. That's actually a really tough one, Parker. When we saw that Playday number 1, it wasn't a great result for Thomas, and I think a lot of people expected more out of him, frankly. The TSM match for Oxygen, it was a really bad match for Foxay as well. So with both of them coming off of terrible performances from Playday number 1, I mean, I can't say.
Foxay was, of course, the lowest rated player on his team, finished with a 0.79 rating, and he also finished 5 and 7.
Yeah.
No entry stats, though, to be fair. And he was mostly playing that flex role, floating around in the middle of his team.
I mean, he's not the fragger on that team. You've got, I mentioned at the lead, we've got 3 fraggers on auction, Vertical, Kino, and Yaga, and it's not Foxay's job to be picking up those kills.
Thomas was only 5 ranks higher than Foxay, by the way, at 0.87.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, he went 6 and 9.
Nice.
So, in terms of stats, 1 more kill, died 2 fewer times. Neither of them had a great day, let's be completely honest. But as we've talked about with many teams, these are not the 2 players who you are going to be living and dying off of having a good performance of. In fact, the biggest culprit for Mirage was Benji, who was their best performer last stage and has consistently been one of the best performers. Well, unfortunately for him, he had the worst day in the entire NAL yesterday, finishing with only 3 kills, 9 deaths, and the lowest rating by a large margin. NVK is second lowest rated at 0.48. Benji Mula is 0.36. That is quite a steady drop. If Benji shows up today, whether Thomas does or does not, if Benji shows up today, that could make a huge difference. Then again, Mirage went up against SSG, who have consistently looked like a top-tier team. Could OXG be that same team? 1 Playday is not enough, but it certainly seems like OXG have bounced back and the role swap worked, but that was only 1 map, Michael. We'll see if it holds true now as Kafe is ready to roll, and we will get started with our first match here of our second Playday here in Stage 3. Any predictions heading in, Michael?
Yeah, again, I'm firmly in the OXG camp here. I think Oxygen's got the advantage in terms of the stability of their team recently. I just think they, especially that with that win over TSM, I know there's caveats there, but I do think that they're looking confident. And I don't know, it's just some about every stage. You see teams like Oxygen often, kind of a rocket to the top early on. I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to maintain that for very long, but I think at least in the early stages, the Oxygen's going to do pretty well here.
Oxygen is just, they're such a hard team to pin down because it seems like 1 week to the next, they are just wildly different.
Yeah. It's strange because we've seen them, have a great early stage and then fall off mid to late. And then we've seen them have a really great late stage, but they suffered at early stage. It just depends stage to stage. But hey, this looks like an early stage for Oxygen.
I was quite impressed with the way that Kino and Yaga's role swaps worked out. I mean, everybody was talking about it. There were a couple standout performers yesterday. If you watched that Sonics matchup, Yeti was the talk of the town. Young Alec was for Beast Coast. So individual performances led the way yesterday. Will that hold through today? That is the question. Operator bans now locked in as we get ready to go into round number 1. Oxygen starting on defense, then Sideswap will come in, then Mirage will defend. For OXG, their bans were Thatcher and Valkyrie. For Mirage, it was Flores and Mira. And if we go to yesterday's Kafe that was played by Xset and Beast Coast, these are almost identical bans. The only difference was that an Xset Beast Coast matchup that took place on Kafe, Wamai was banned out instead of Valkyrie. So at least for these two playdays, the meta seemingly settled on the fact that on attack, you don't want to bring a Thatcher and a Flores, and Mira is just too pivotal here on this map.
See a Rooney being brought instead of the Wamai. I think that's interesting. A Rooney does facilitate the denial in a similar way to Wamai, but it's obviously not as direct, not as efficient. So the reason why Wamai is so worth talking about is not only because of how useful he is on Kafe in particular. There's a lot of zones where you're going to expect nades to land, expect stuns to land, but that's exactly the main thing, is that it's the stuns. The way that the stuns have changed up the flow of the game a little bit. They're much more lethal than they were before the change from this update. They're a lot harder to avoid. I'm not going to get too much into the details. We've already explained that. If you would like to get more information on that, you can check out the patch notes. But because of how hard they are to avoid, it's more common, I would say, to bring those denial operators. And having a Wamai ban, like we saw in that last Kafe match, can make a big difference.
I mean, there were a couple interactions with Beast Coast and Xset where the flash was directly responsible for a kill because, like you pointed out, the changes make it so that you're going to get blinded no matter what. You can't look away from it. It'll reduce the duration, but that's about it. So not having Valkyrie is obviously a very different change. We saw Valkyrie played quite a lot yesterday, and when she's available on a Kafe matchup, she will come in quite frequently. Not just because you can throw the cameras outside, as we discuss every time Valkyrie comes up, but also because there are a lot of cheeky angles where you can throw a Valkyrie camera that'll give you a very limited point of view, but the camera itself is relatively hidden, and it gives you enough intel to be able to capitalize off of it. Rooney has very firmly worked her way into the meta here, and it's been fascinating to watch teams play off of this. Foxe, one of the 2 players in our community poll, will be rocking that operator.
Benji has injected himself into reading. He could get the cutoff here, and he's going to. Down goes Foxe. He could even get a second if he plays his cards right, and he won't. Vertical. Great reaction to get the trade, and that's an even exchange to start us off.
All right, well, I mean, you get rid of Benji, with him down, once again, one of the performers that Mirage needs a big day out of. He came in with the lowest rating on his team and the lowest rating in the NA League, and something that doesn't need to be touched upon more than a couple times, but given the fact that Benji is typically a player that they rely on to do well, you're going to need a big game from him. Now, ditto on OXG's side for Laxing as he gets pre-fired by Thomas, who'll now pivot towards the white stairs. We've cleaned out a pretty good portion of that 3rd and 2nd floor now, so the 3 remaining players from OXG will find themselves either in the bomb site or relatively close to it, with Kino being the one off-site playing in VIP at that deployable shield. A very common spot to see a smoke play. You can govern the freezer drop, and you can also hold off a white stairs push.
This is a pretty significant win for Oxygen in terms of the way that all panned out. They got rid of the Buck most notably, which is going to limit the vertical presence. Uh-oh, there goes Yaga as he tries to reposition. Loading could just walk in now, and it's all on vertical to get 2 kills inside of Bakery. He gets the 1, not the second. Great trade there for Loading. Kino now in the 1 versus 2. Great kit for it, though, but Loading is ready, and Mirage will take the first round.
A big round from Loading yesterday against Space Station, which was a highlight for him and his team, and another one pops up right in front of our eyes, and Vertical goes for the swing inside of Prep, expecting there to be a double lineup. He misses the shots on the Hibana. If he had hit them a little bit sooner, Dream goes down, and, well, he's prepped and ready for Loading, but he just got swung on, and that Nomad took the engagement on 3 separate encounters, walking into Bakery and being able to pick them off. OXG's roam upstairs, not entirely as well supported as you would have expected them to be. And this is something that we've talked about with OXG every single time that we see them play, is that they are exceptionally talented players and they don't always play off of each other. It seems like players will have, either on attack or defense, their own mission. And sometimes it does not align with their teammates, and they can end up with Laxing all on his own, unsupported, and he plays very well in that regard. But sometimes it doesn't end up working out. In this instance, OXG, their 2 roamers, were only supported, I believe it was by Yaga when they ended up trading off early on. But at that point, it leaves you too weak on the site. And Mirage knows exactly what to do. It looks like we're going to have a rehost, by the way, just another tech issue. So we make it 1 round in, and we will take a brief pause for a second here. In the meantime, we'll keep you updated. That first round, not a ton to talk about, Michael.
No, they didn't leave us with a lot of material. So the roam clear from Mirage was an even exchange, so that's good for Oxygen that they managed to keep that nice and even. There were some really impactful kills that Oxygen managed there. I like the way that Mirage focused on Bakery. They identified it as a potential spot that, you know, could get them a quick access to the site, and to be fair, there were 2 defenders inside of Bakery, so I would have expected a little bit more of a fight put up there by Oxygen, but Yaga, really bad timing for a reposition behind Bakery, and that cost pretty hard on the hold. But yeah, no, as you say, Parker, not a ton of material to talk about. It mostly came down to the roam, and then the exchanging inside of Bakery worked out in favor of Mirage. And that's it.
So, yeah, that's really it. So, we'll have the teams come back in and assemble themselves on the same sides. We'll go to the same bomb site and then get things underway. But I mean, not exactly the confident start for OXG, not what you'd want. Obviously, with new changes to the meta, Mute is obviously significantly weaker than he used to be, as they have nerfed the vertical range of his Mute Jammer. For those that don't know what that means, it means that when you put down a mute jammer, that mute jammer used to mute the entire wall. It does not do that anymore. It now has a ceiling to it, which means that you can use a Selma, you can use X-Kairos, you can blow up the top of that wall. Mute no longer stops the entire wall from being blown open. That's now more on the shoulders of Kaid and Bandit, and obviously that's a huge nerf and could even be a meta-defining nerf. Bandit's pick rate has soared in the interim until teams figure out how to use this, or whether they even will figure it out and just simply keep rolling with Bandit or Kaid. Additionally, those flashbangs being reworked gives some more power to the attackers, so I wouldn't be too surprised, Michael, with those 2 changes alone to see the attackers' win rate start to tick up on a lot of these maps. For a map like Kafe, which does in the past tend to skew towards the defense, it might make it more of a wash as to which side is the upper hand.
I completely agree, Parker. It's taking some of the rigidity out of the defense and in a not bad way. Now, we have sorted everything out, so we're going to go load back in, and we'll start round number 2. And the score is incorrect, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to rehost one more time, and we will eventually get to that round number 2 once we get it all sorted, accurately.
That is correct. So just another moment or 2 here until we're back in the game.
It's not the first time that's happened. I've always been an advocate for making sure there is somebody to double check the inputs, because part of this is the fact that it's really complicated to rehost a lobby and get everything accurate. It's not as easy as you might expect. And sometimes the interface could be a little bit confusing, and you go, okay, wait, did I get that right? And you're double checking, and you're rushing, and you're rushing. Should always be somebody to double check for the person rehosting, because I've seen this happen so many times. I
remember when they first changed around side swaps in overtime, and it was like, which team starts overtime, orange or blue? And it was like, well, do they start orange or does it change? Like, what's the...
Yeah, it used to be static. It used to be the same teams every time.
And then I remember a whole whack of, I think it was a bunch of qualifiers, a bunch of casters back then used to host the lobbies themselves. This was well before there was any form of RTMP or streams. It would just be a caster hosting it and streaming it. And I remember, there was a whole rash of rehosts because people would be like, oh yeah, of course, they started orange, so they're going to be on OT. But it was actually like when they swapped sides or something like that. And it was like, well, no, actually, that team's now on OT. And you're like, I don't understand any of this. I'm too stupid to deal with this. So
yeah, it gets really confusing really fast, frankly. And that's part of the reason why it's not necessarily the fault of the person rehosting the lobby all the time. Like whenever I'm rehosting, or if I'm hosting a lobby or doing anything like that, because I do that occasionally for like FPL, I always go over all the settings like 4 times. I go over the settings, I close the settings menu, I open the settings menu again, I go over it again, I close it again, I go over it again. It's back and forth, because just for my own sanity, because I mess it up so many times, and you got to be really careful. Anyway.
It seems like...
Fingers crossed.
It seems like everything is in working order. Let's wait patiently.
Make sure the score is correct this time. But it's looking good. Mirage has won. The op bands look correct. And yeah, okay. Woo!
All right. So, Reading Room and Fireplace is where we are going to go. OXG unsuccessful on their defense of that first floor down in the kitchen bomb site. They are not eager to go back there a second time. And it's not common that we will see teams immediately go back to the same bomb site they just lost on. The standard thinking is, well, we lost it, so let's go somewhere else and keep them guessing. If they were successful there the first time, there's a good chance, unless something drastically changes, that it'll happen a second time. And there's that one match on Bank that always pops into my mind where I think it was Pain Gaming went to the bottom floor bomb site of Bank 4 times in a row.
And they weren't bringing C4, right?
And then they brought, like, the first time around they brought 0 C4, the second time around they brought 1 C4, the third time they brought like 2 C4, and then the fourth time they had like 4 C4s, and it's like,
right.
And then they finally won, and you're like, hey, you did it, like.
I remember giving them so much lip about that, because back in those days, the Bank meta was so established, and there was no variety whatsoever. You bring your denial, you use your denial, and they just weren't bringing it. And then when they brought it, sometimes they didn't use it, and it was just, wow, what a circle. Why are we talking about Bank?
No, I was talking about how teams don't go back to the same bomb site. So.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right,
but the one thing that we will see on every single Kafe defense, except for the odd kitchen defense, is that players will roam on that third and second floor, and that is exactly the case here and now. OXG have forces staggered on the second and the third floor. On the third floor at the moment, it looks like Vertical and Yaga will be playing in a way that they are not necessarily side by side. The Buck will very graciously open up an opportunity for the Jaeger to get through if he so chooses.
Oh, that's dangerous. He's got the cut now. Jaeger has to challenge this. Vertical's going to have to go for the direct fight, and there's the stun, but no kill to follow it up. Nyx will get control of Bathroom. And he's still trying to challenge these players who are now positioned by pallets. Kino inside a cocktail is going to eat a lot of damage. And all 3 of these defenders are trying to get the heck out of dodge.
And they managed to do so successfully, but you don't want the smoke to perish this early on. And when I say early, we're halfway through the round. So there's lots of time for the smokes canisters to blanket the action. Look at about 40 seconds or so where those 3 very important pieces of utility come into play and their effectiveness rises dramatically.
We'll see if Kino is able to use them the way he wants to and the way we expect him to be able to. I mean, 1 stray bullet and you're on the floor. Right now, it's just a focus for the vertical on the side of Mirage. Not the player, but from the top down as Buck starts opening up in back bar storage. You've also got the sledge to start whacking away at the floor. Likely, you'll see an isolation of the default plant spot by reading door as you expect, and good firm pillar control as well as control through the holes above. And then we'll see Mirage go for an attempted plant.
Bomb has been located.
There are some breach charges now as well, as nobody has perished yet, and this is going to be a very hectic end to the round, and OXG will hope to blunt any momentum that Mirage have been building up. All the while, it looks like OXG are going to take the fight right to them. A toxic canister goes out, and in trudges Mirage. So will Vertical. He manages to take out the Nomad, flex to the left, but can't drop the Buck before finally doing so. And there's nobody from Mirage who's going to be left standing except for Benji, playing around the pillars with only 10 seconds to go. No diffuser in hand. We'll have to retrieve that or go for kills, but Vertical says no thanks. Sitting on top of that diffuser, governing reading room, OXG answers back by taking a round of their own.
A couple things to go over through that round. Number one, Mirage didn't manage to get a single one of the 3 roamers on the top floor, despite their grip being pretty firm on the cuts. So that's actually really unfortunate for Mirage, the fact that they didn't punish a single player. Number two, we talked about the smokes, the fact that Kino made it out of the top floor with a sliver of HP, questioning whether or not he was going to be able to use those gas canisters. Well, he certainly did, and he did a great job denying the default plant inside of reading door, forcing those Mirage players to go deeper into reading. That was really punishing, so well done to Kino for that. Thing number two, Mirage's flank watch and cover from above was abysmal. I think that's the only word I can really use to describe that. They have all the holes opened up above. They got firm pillar control, and they choose to use neither of those 2 advantages. And that's, I mean, that's on them. I think a big part of that is probably the time. They might have been feeling rushed. It doesn't matter. And in the end, even though that is like a justifiable excuse, it's still an excuse. And, yep.
10 seconds remaining.
Well done to Oxygen for punishing it. They got a flank off really easily from Brownstairs, which should not have been an option. And their reading control was still pretty solid. When you couple that with the smoke, there's no ground for Mirage to safely stand on.
A lot of teams have been having issues with this kitchen defense, by the way. I don't know if you've picked up on that over the last 2 days, but
yeah,
some major difficulties with a bomb site that is typically easier to hold against. Relaxing now. Watch the castle barricade go, and he decides to engage, but loading fires some bullets through. Thomas is still there as well. Manages to chase off the castle of Laxing, who now disappears.
Yep. He will just phase slowly into the bush. Fox 8 gonna be playing upstairs, but in a position to retreat very quickly. And okay, he's just gonna go away. It's better safe than sorry, I say. This is, of course, a mining defense, which you don't really see all that much. But Parker was trying to make note of this. He was bringing up the fact that we don't really see a lot of that bottom floor being defended. Or sometimes, if it is, it's just poorly defended. Look at this, though. Benji's in, and Dream's going for a plant. He's going to get it off, too. There's no one to deny. It's going to be an easy post-plant scenario for Mirage in a 5 versus 4. This is often why we don't see mining defended.
Yeah, I cannot believe that they're just exploiting this from OXG, but OXG now finds themselves back on even footing. The greater problem is the time. 30 seconds to go, and they have no idea the positioning of the players from Mirage. Benji is low enough that he could be felled, but the keep away game from MRG working out very effectively. Dream now taken through the window. Vertical guns him down. Mirage dominates the kill feed, and Vertical will be left with 15 seconds to go and 3 players from Mirage to find. This is almost impossible for him to do. Not just get a number of kills, but also get to the diffuser in time. He'll find loading, but is unsuccessful in his attempt to end his life. And Mirage pick up round number 2.
Well, that was an easy round for Mirage.
Relatively, right?
Yeah. I mean, they got the 1 entry inside of Train. And then they planted, and then there was no response from Oxygen. It's just a little bit puzzling, I guess. That setup was kind of weird. This is the problem with mining, right? Mining itself is very exposed to a quick access plant like we just saw. And usually there's direct answers from the defenders, like specific ways that they're attempting to counter that, but not so from Oxygen. And that's the story of the round.
Very swift.
Yeah.
Very, very swift.
Defenders, protect
Yeah.
your bombs from being
Well, back down to kitchen they're going to go. The cocktail bomb site still remains available. Its pick rate has been climbing over the last couple months, and teams of all regions have been embracing it far more than there was a period of time where we almost never saw it. A lot of teams favoring those second floor bomb sites, then going down to kitchen if that was the rotation that they needed, and obviously all of them play out very differently. OXG got flattened the last time they tried to go to this site, so I wonder what they're going to change up.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad roam.
10
Well,
seconds
not a
left.
bad. Okay, no, it was an okay roam. It was a weird roam. It even exchange roam, let's say that. And then Mirage, because they had very limited manpower, they just directly hit Bakery with most of what they had left. And that actually ended up, those trades ended up just going in their favor in that 3 versus 3. So, yeah, Mirage was able to carry that on to a round win. We'll see if it's any different this time around. Looks like a much more heavy emphasis placed on the horizontal roam and not as much focus placed on vertical. They're probably just going to allay the top 4 roam for the most part, except for these 2 players.
Well, the first time that they went to kitchen, they took out who? It was Benji to die first, and then the follow-up was on the Buck, if I remember correctly. But
Yes.
Mirage still ended up making it work, in big part because of Loading's performance. He picked up a 3K in that very first round, and did so by walking in very confidently to Bakery, and nobody opposing him. In fact, Oxygen decided to swing on him, but nobody knew where he was. This time around, the focus for Mirage is not so much on that top floor. They're going to have one operator up there. The rest of it are all situated by the main door to Bakery and are getting droned in. They had to worry about the Jaeger playing in that rat corner inside of prep. There's nobody there. There are kill holes from above that are being watched. So while there's no physical body there, Fox A is poised to greet anybody. As you hear what sounded like a late reinforcement going up.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, I didn't see where that was, but what we do know is that this is a through and through Bakery take. There's a mute jammer on the other side of that wall that they'll need to deal with, unless they decide to place the Habanas high enough, in which case a nade can be tossed over, and there you go. You get rid of the mute jammer, now the rest of the wall can be opened up. That is the change Parker was mentioning earlier, where they took the radius of the mute jammer and they just, well, lopped a lot off the top, so the whole wall is no longer covered. And now, open sesame. So it's a much more streamlined process to get the control that you want.
With the reverse haircut, long on the side, short on top.
Yeah, it seems that way, Parker. So, I mean,
We
it worked
call
out.
that one the Friar Tuck.
I don't know where that's from.
Well, people who are fans of Friar Tuck will understand that one. Anyway, as they manage to open up the wall into Bakery, the next step for Mirage is flushing out the players off-site, and that is going to be their greatest difficulty. Vertical is playing by this double doorway in the back of kitchen, watching towards freezer. Mirage know what they need to do, but they're very wary of what happens next. Fox A has not been moved off of his spot above Michael. He's still watching those holes, and in goes Dream. Kino is down for the count. Fox from above punishes Nyx, but it looks like for the second time in a row, Dream will be able to walk away unchallenged. But no,
Wait.
a yokai blast, and then Fox A capitalizing knocks down Dream. They didn't understand that the Echo was still in play, and Yaga could potentially save the round. It's on Thomas now to drop that diffuser with Benji watching, but Thomas is down for the count, and OXG cleans up the rest of the site. Wonderful play by Utility, wonderful gunplay, and they answer back. This game through 4 rounds is tied up.
So this has been a pretty close Kafe so far, Parker, and it's been interesting to watch all the little mistakes being made by both teams. In that last round, Oxygen were clearly aware of the fact that they had a problem when it came to plant denial. They decided to bring the Echo, I believe, I could be mistaken, I believe it was 6 picked into. Either way, they brought the Echo, and that denial paid out so well in stopping the plant just inside of K1. And once you get that plant down, or sorry, once you deny that plant getting down, I guess you could say, it was easy for Oxygen to collapse. And see, that's the difference maker. The mining defense, they had no such denial. And even then, Oxygen's collapse was pretty solid. It almost looked like they might have been able to make something happen, but just didn't work out because Mirage had already repositioned. This time, Mirage are not given an opportunity to reposition because the denial is on top of things. So, good job to Oxygen. Different site, but they've still adjusted to account for the fact that Mirage are so objective-focused in this match.
10 seconds remaining.
It's crazy how little Echo play we really we really do see at this level, and OXG realizing that using him on Kitchen is probably your best bet, that's where we do tend to see the Japanese operator be trotted out. For good reason. I mean, there's so many different pipes and cubbies that you can hide those yokai drones in. Bear in mind that they are no longer cloaked the way that they used to be, and that mechanic has been seen as a severe nerf to Echo, and with it, not just his pick rate has dropped, but most importantly, his ban rate as well, which has opened up more flexibility for the two teams to see which defender they want to ban out. Valkyrie has mostly taken up that mantle as most banned operator, so... But that's getting down the rabbit hole of the way that these matches play up. This time around, OXG's defense on the second floor. They'll be defending Reading. And, well, this is one of the two sites that they've won. They've now gone through 3 sites. No cocktail defense just yet. Only one more round to see it pop up. Doubtful we'll see it, though.
Top floor clear is going to be difficult here for Mirage. As you can see, OXG is well entrenched on the top floor. Vertical playing by back bar. Kino by Cocktail. Ooh, very late reinforcement, and that is not the right play. I said it would be difficult. I guess I spoke too soon. As that kill comes out, Kino will leave, and Yaga with a C4 kill on a white stairs. He's trying to bring his team back into it, and he's successful, taking out loading.
Well, a very quick answer back is good for Oxygen. It doesn't allow Mirage to get their extra players in position. If you've got a numbers advantage, you can spend one person's entire round watching flank, and then the rest of your players can just go at it. And with a team like OXG, they love to flank, especially Vertical and Laxing. Laxing in particular has been playing a far more sturdy, safe style of defense. And this is another change to Oxygen that's kind of flown under the radar. We were so fixated on Yaga and Kino yesterday that Laxing playing a safer role is a pretty large change for OXG. We'll see how long it lasts for. All that said, final minute now with both teams sitting at a 4v4, and Mirage have some work to be done. They're on that top floor trying to flush out the players from OXG around the bomb site before they can turn their attention towards Reading.
Here comes the killing as Yaga starts things off onto Benji. That's his second kill. There's only 35 seconds left for Mirage to hit the site. And now, oh, I was about to say they have the man at disadvantage, but they've evened it out. Down goes Yaga and Red Hall. The Vaulted, though, is stopped by Foxay. And Thomas nades. No, okay, he didn't do that to himself. He was downed, and his nade did finish him off, but that's not on him. Someone else got the down. Nyx, inside of Red Hall, has to find 3 kills as he transitions to Pillar. He's worried about a flank, and he'll stun himself. As he goes back up brown stairs, he's only got 7 seconds left. Hits a gate on the way in, no stuns to clear it, and no time, so he'll be finished off by Foxay. That was a calamity of events and errors for Mirage.
First time that either of these teams have won consecutive rounds, so not bad at all for Oxygen. And with this being the first half, OXG on defense have now not put themselves in a position to win, but are not capable of losing this first half. At best, it's going to be a wash, and then we'll go to the second half and see, does this matchup tilt more towards the defenders or the attackers? What I will say is this. Given what we witnessed from Mirage yesterday against Space Station, and given what we saw of Oxygen yesterday against TSM, Mirage are putting in a much better showing today. I don't think there is any dispute there. They are keeping many of these rounds really close. And what afflicted Mirage yesterday seems to still be the bane of their existence today, which is communication. There are a lot of times where Mirage just simply seem like they know what they have to do, but scrambling through the mid-round of the later portions of the round is a challenge. And this is something that newer teams and teams that make role swaps or get a new IGL or a new caller brought in can really struggle with. So the fact that Mirage have already been able to answer back, despite Clubhouse being a great map, losing it to Space Station yesterday, Mirage have really pivoted and they're giving giving OXG a good run for their money.
Yeah, I agree, Parker. I think Mirage are doing much better than I was expecting. Of course, there are a lot of mistakes being made here and there. I just want to clarify something as well. I mentioned it as it was happening, but so Thomas did not nade himself. That wasn't him having a, oh, wow, whoopsie, I naded myself. He got downed by Thomas when he had his nade pulled out. Or not by Thomas. Why did I say by Thomas? Yeah, down by himself. He got downed by Kino while he had his nade pulled, and that's how he ended up killing himself. So that was not a mistake on Thomas's fault. It's just how it happened on this kill feed. Anyway, Mirage now have to deal with Vertical with the C4. And he gets shot by the Skeleton Key. Wow, what a catch there from Nyx, saving his own life. Kind of a delayed detonation there for Vertical. He could have probably gotten that kill. I think he had the detonator ready.
Well, once again, an aggressive hold up top for Oxygen inside of the Humidor. This is something that we've come to see actually quite frequently, especially if there's a shotgun in hand, but
yeah.
Hard to tell from this aerial perspective. No shotgun available for the Mozzie. Vertical swings after Nyx drops red, and OXG gets the leadoff pick in this final and fateful defense for them. That is an excellent start. Now the question is, can you make it out alive, Piano? Because Benji is going to be gunning for you on rappel. He sees the utility and shrugs off a nitro cell that gets tossed out, or actually it seemed to be an impact from Yaga. Fox A down for the count from Dream, and Yaga's still in this position by Piano. I don't know if they're aware that they've still got him lurking, but he could potentially pick off somebody if they're not aware.
Mirage doing a good job of coordinating here. You could tell there that Benji wanted to take the fight at Ticket, but he waited for his teammate to do it instead. And Mirage are putting so much pressure on this top floor without exposing themselves too much. Of course, excluding Nyx early on. It looks like, wait a minute, is this another site hit direct into mining? Because it looks like it is, as yes, firm control for Mirage in mining, and yet again, the plant is going down. Laxing will get loading, so there's one favor for the defenders, but it doesn't matter, as we are, once again, in a post plant. And Thomas eliminating Kino inside of Dining makes this much, much more difficult. As the man count evens out, there's only 35 seconds for these defenders to retake into their own site, and it's definitely proving difficult as Dream is holding things down. A third kill for Dream, as he just cannot be beaten right now. Vertical coming from red stairs, he's got to find 3, and he doesn't even find the air jab. So that makes things difficult, as the enemy now knows exactly where he is. With only 15 seconds, 3 bodies to find, it's not gonna happen. What a round for Mirage, and what a gross oversight for the second time in a round for Oxygen.
Well, if it wasn't for just a late call from the Echo on that kitchen defense in round number 4, that would have been 4 rounds where Mirage were literally able to just walk into the site and start to get the diffuser down. And that's, I don't know if that's a deliberate and conscious decision by OXG or not, but allowing the attackers to waltz in and then impose on you that 45-second timeline to then be able to get the diffuser while also killing all of your opponents is a hell of a task. Oxygen is a terrific team. I don't think anybody doubts that. But not being able to secure the site and not being able to prevent Mirage from walking in, Dream being droned in by his teammates, exploiting the blind spots that you have in your defense is not ideal. And if you want to be the top team in the NAL, you cannot be making that mistake. That is a gross oversight. Even the teams that are perpetually last place in the NA League shouldn't be making that, let alone a team like OXG. So that's something for them to work on when they go back and do some VOD review, but the good news for Oxygen and that small oversight, like I said, they're not going to be on defense anymore. Both teams emerge from the first half tied up at 3-3, and they'll swap sides.
Yeah, the reason why teams tend to favor the reading dining site over the mining dining site is because when you're roaming upstairs on defense, you roam to the east side, and you retreat through the east side, and the site is on the east side. So when you've retreated, or when you're retreating, your site is still covered by you. But mining site is on the west side of the building. So the attackers, if they get firm control of the top floor on just the west side, they don't even need to full clear the top floor. They can then transition to a direct site hit, and there's nobody to stop a plant. I mean, that's just basic Kafe. Well, I want to move on from it. Y'all get the point. This is a really dangerous roam here for Thomas. He was playing on top of the stage. I think he's moved as his window was opened up. Yeah, that's good timing that he got out of there.
Well, Mirage's hold upstairs, short-lived. They'll head off. Kitchen defense for them. OXG went 50% on this bomb site. Defended it twice. First time around, Mirage walked in and did quite well. That was the very first round. They didn't get the diffuser down because they killed everybody before they could. This time around, though, or second time around, Kitchen worked out better for Oxygen. And that was more due to Mirage's negligence. OXG in the past has favored a strategy where they sit inside of mining, they look down, and they can hold the breach that leads into Bakery. Fox A was sitting up there. Nobody from Mirage cleared him out. We'll see how similar Mirage's defense is to either of those attempts. In the meantime, OXG have third floor control. Nobody is up there for Mirage. They are all on the second or first floor. And down goes Nyx. So that's at least one player that you don't need to worry about if you're Oxygen.
That's a real bad start there for Mirage. But we've seen a lot of those early picks. I mean, obviously, this is the second half. Things have changed, but the early picks are getting answered really quickly. Both these teams are maintaining their aggression, and I expect we'll see Mirage attempt to get that kill back in due course. They also still have control of Bakery. Here it is, and no, the Roni doesn't have the ammo! No! Not enough bullets in the magazine there for Thomas.
That's one of the major downsides of the Roni. We've talked about it often, is that the Commando is a great weapon, but people love the Roni for a number of reasons. Its large magazine doesn't exist, so that's certainly not one of them. Anyway, it's OXG continuing to body Mirage. Benji got one for his team, but he's going to need a couple more. He goes positive, sitting at 4-3 now, and is in fact the only player on his team who is positive. Dream is at a perfect 500, if that counts, and well, one thing that we've seen changed on these Maestro players is that both of the Mexico Major are now here. The Alda out in favor of that ACS. Benji will retake the site as there's only 20 seconds left, and he had 2 targets lined up, but OXG punishes him for that. A couple bullets go a different way, and Benji could have made that real work, but ACS kill for Dream. He'll now go on to the Evil Eye and try to stop the plant in its tracks. He loses that valuable piece of utility. He'll get gunned down from over by Red Stairs. Vaults on over, and there's just no way he's going to make those shots. Laxing, smurfing on him with the pistol out after he runs out of bullets in that ARX. And the round, the very first attacking round, goes in favor of OXG.
Well, big win there for OXG. They get the lead-off kill, but then I gotta say, first of all, we're taking a tactical timeout here for Mirage, and I think this is good timing. They need to correct course. I gotta say, it's really unfortunate when you see a mistake like your Nomad not getting an air jab up on Brown Stairs quick enough, or not somebody not holding it. Like, that's on Oxygen. The fact that Thomas was able to get to the top of Brown Stairs, that is on Oxygen. And when you see a mistake like that, and then you see the mistake start to be exploited by Thomas, you think, oh, okay, wow, Thomas is about to bring this round back for his team. And then, and then that happens. Oh my god, it's a mistake answered with a mistake. And these are unforced errors, Parker. And it's the type of thing that makes you go, ugh, oof. I don't know how else to put that. It makes you go, oof.
Oof is correct.
Yeah.
Well, timeout for Mirage. I will say I am a little curious as to their timing, because the first half was relatively close by almost every single metric, and then we turn around here and they lose the first defense. Now, unless there was something they saw that they really wanted to work on, I don't think you need to sound the alarm bells just yet. Obviously, some things went wrong for Mirage, and I think once again it falls under the shoulders of communication. I think communication was the main culprit for them yet again. So we'll see if they're able to settle themselves down. I will say that one thing to note about Mirage, and this was addressed at the Mexico Major and was actually backed up by the analyst desk, is that teams that call timeouts typically do very well after they call that timeout. Mirage, just from my memory, not having any numbers in front of me, Mirage seems to call a timeout and then always perseveres and prevails in the next round or two. Whether they keep it close or they outright win the rounds, they still make the most of it, and they seem to be able to convert those timeouts into success better than a lot of their counterparts. Now, can that possibly happen here? We'll see. I mean, it's Mirage who's going to defense, so they take that timeout. They can discuss an intimate strategy that they want to employ, and they're going to use it on the only bomb site that we hadn't seen up until this point, which is Cocktail on the top floor.
Objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Intimate strategy.
Yes, that's correct. Intimate. I assess my strategies by the intimacy.
Oh, man. So, Oxygen up one round, but as Parker said, Mirage has that tactical timeouts round buffer type deal that we usually see them convert, but we'll guarantee that. And since the more we talk about it, the less likely it is for them to convert it, of course. So,
A bomb has been located.
moving on. Drones coming in here to top red. There's nobody in Humidor. That's probably the most interesting thing about this hold. You could see it's still a stacked aggressive hold on the utility, but all that stack is inside a piano. And look at that. It's just nullified, just like that. That's why, by the way, in case you're wondering, that's why people don't hold in piano, because how easy those kills are.
Well, once again, not a beginning that Mirage wants. You take a timeout and you lose Thomas, who said that he needed to have a better game today. There were no excuses. Well, statistically, he's having a worse game, if I remember correctly, and now his smoke being down is not ideal. Nyx will join him in the grave as Laxing punishes one other player of Mirage. Yaga's gone for OXG, so the advantage is still in OXG's favor. Half of the round in a 4v3 for Oxygen to try and grow this lead.
I think you're going to see more aggression here from Mirage. They're going to try and start bringing this back. Benji's playing by Pixel. He wants a fight. He's been landing his shots so far through this match. We'll see if he can keep that up. Repelling the ticket. Cigar controlled. Foxay, the one in Cigars, could take some damage. And okay. Benji will just fall off. That's interesting. I did not expect that, considering where the man advantage currently lies. I thought Benji would fight that to the death, try and bring his team back in it, but no.
He doesn't want to overstay his welcome, and frankly, I don't blame him. OXG will continue to take up space inside a piano, opening up very important components of this defense, mainly the wall leading into back bar. Loading with that storm in hand, we'll see a grenade go by, but very adeptly dodges it. Extremely nimble. He'll still play around that opening. Killing time while the rest of OXG have to push on in. 40 seconds remain for them to be able to get this objective down. You can see a bevy of red marks, and Benji sees one now on the doorway to Pixel, trying to feed some bullets on in. He's actually very low on ammunition. These changes might actually hurt him, and it might hurt the rest of his team, as now loading is down for the count. The lead for OXG continues to grow. 20 seconds, and they need to charge on in. Benji down, leaving Dream with that ACS in a 1v4, and well, with the Alda, maybe you can make that work, but I gotta question the ACS as a killing machine. Maybe you need it for the soft destruction. I'm not entirely certain, but it's obviously not doing what you need because Dream is unsuccessful with it for 2 rounds, and OXG wins their 4th round in the last 5, and because of that, they're inching ever closer to putting this match out of reach for Mirage.
Okay, so for Mirage, let's pick that apart. Number 1, Thomas roaming inside of Piano. He gets pinched early on, and he gets pinched in a way that is pretty predictable. It's exactly what you would expect because he's playing in piano. And following that, no direct trade out until Nyx gets overly aggressive, and he manages to get the trade. Now, Nyx trades himself. He dies. That's not a bad thing necessarily. So no shade to Nyx. He had to make an aggro play there. He made an aggro play. He brought his team back. It's an even exchange. I'd say that's better. A 5 versus 4 can often be worse than a 4 versus 3. So anyway, moving on from Nyx getting that trade, a real kicker for me is when Benji leaves Pixel. I know he's feeling pressure, but he's got a teammate in Freezer. So the reason why that's relevant is since there's a teammate in uh-oh. Is it
Hello?
Is it jumping for you too, Parker?
No.
No, okay. All right, just me then. The reason why that's relevant is if there's somebody inside a freezer, they're on an island, they're stranded if you abandon them from Pixel. If you stay on Pixel, now you could challenge with your freezer player, especially because backbar storage wall is open, and you've got crossfires, you've got playmaking potential. But then, what do we see? 20 seconds left, and we see loading swing. It's his only option. What a play from Nyx, and it doesn't work out. Yaga, keen to it. And that was an interesting setup there for Nyx. He uses the cardiac sensor, and he has a 11-punch castle barricade, potentially getting a kill on the rappel. It just doesn't work. Anyway, bad teamwork from Mirage last round.
I gotta say, I do admire the fact that Mirage, even when slowly losing grip on this match, are willing to take chances like that. Nyx has been the first to die now twice of the 3 rounds on defense. He has very little to show for it. Unfortunately for Nyx, this is a problem that has happened many times throughout his career at this level. So being able to refine that aggression and channel it could obviously pay off. But now Mirage, because of that, and a very brazen gamble, are going to find themselves down a critical operator. A Pulse who can sit near the bomb site for the record, downstairs inside a dining. and mining. A Pulse who can very easily call. You can hold this piano component that OXG has now taken control of with that Nitro cell in hand, and being able to call for the rest of his team could pay dividends, but unfortunately you just don't have that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, Parker. A big loss there for Mirage, and you can see there's no answer just yet. They're going to be looking for an opportunity to get a kill back, and we're going to a mining defense here, so I wonder if this will be exploited the same way that Mirage did onto Oxygen. I think that Mirage has got to be more prepared for this, right? Because, you know, they were the ones doing the exploiting. They have to know about the vulnerability of mining. Surely they're ready, and they have contingencies.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think that, but so far since this timeout is taken, OXG won the next round. Mirage had nothing for it, and now on this round, it's not by any means over, but Mirage, unfortunately, loses the very first player. Now, they're going to try to open up that hatch. Electric Claw is taken care of, and you're going to have clear sailing to drop into not the site, but at least room connecting it and joining the two. Leaves you 30 seconds left. OXG have plenty of time to work with. 30 seconds is okay. Drop. Managed to isolate one or two players from Mirage, and you're in pretty good shape, but as I've said that, 10 seconds go by. Loading takes out Yaga. Yaga swings in. The plant going down from Foxe in a position that can't be reached for the moment. So Dream will be the one to get in, but he gets knocked through the wall by an air jab. Kills coming out as Foxe will now need to go back onto that diffuser, but Mirage seems to find them. Foxe abandons it. Vertical will need to cover. Benji trying to go on in. Vertical down, and they'll find Foxe very easily. The coverage from OXG so poor that Foxe has to get off a number of times, even when he was seconds away. It costs OXG the round, and Mirage are still in this.
Yeah, Tommy getting hyped up there. You could see him on the cam. Real loud after that one. Looks like we're going to have ourselves a tactical timeout for Oxygen after that loss. I agree with you, Parker. That was pretty bad coverage from Oxygen. They had the air jabs up, and those were useful to an extent, but their ability to actually cover the fight, pretty bad. Those holes that were made in the red wall were really bad. Oh, boy. Yeah, the irony is it was Foxe who died to the holes, and it was Foxe who opened the holes. So, oof. Red control was a particular part of the attack that was lacking for Oxygen, but also pillar control. Usually when you go for a mining execution, you're going to want to have firm pillar control because you can cut off the red hallway. In fact, you can cut off both red hallways, red 90, red stairs hallway. You can put pressure on reading, locking down those defenders. We didn't really see that be that much of a factor for Oxygen. There were many players on Mirage who were running around on red 90, making plays without punishment, and that's obviously not ideal.
Timeout is done, and I mean, at this point, you want to try to hold on to whatever momentum you may have. For OXG, they are still 2 rounds away. Mirage finds their very first win on defense, coming in a very unlikely bomb site for the record. This is the third time, or that rather was the third time, that either team had attempted to defend mining and dining, and at a 100% success rate for the attackers. Well, it still is a 100% success rate for Mirage, as they were the team to win it twice on attack. OXG entirely unsuccessful there, and I mean, again, I don't know what it is, but Foxe is going to plant in a relatively secure corner. He needs to worry about getting pushed from the doorway leading out of engine over towards 90 and pillars. So how do you do that? You have somebody posted up at the window. The air jab goes off. Instead of staying on that plant, the swing that was coming in that would have killed Foxe gets dealt with by the air jab. Benji is distracted. So Foxe would have been able to get that diffuser down and then pop up.
Yeah.
If you go back and you look at the replay, it certainly seemed like Foxe was maybe a second or two away from having it down. He was perfectly safe. Either he didn't trust his teammates, or bad comms led him to believe that there was greater danger than was actually present. And unfortunately, the fact that you were that close ends up costing you the round for OXG. So, see what you can do now as you pivot, and you'll try to take on the kitchen bomb site, which, good news for fans of Oxygen, you were successful on back in round number 7, the very first attack you had.
You know, I gotta wonder when that conversation about bad comms ceases to be a thing for a team. Because, I mean, we've seen Oxygen now with their current iteration for a while, solid amount of time. And I think it's at some point you got to say, okay, well, they've had enough time to iron those sorts of things out. So where are the results? Because I do think that Oxygen is a really loaded team. I do personally think that. And yet we see some confusing things from them. Parker mentioned it earlier. They're a really hard team to pin down. And for example, right now, Kafe is one of the top performers for this team, whereas Kino on Ash currently has 2 kills. And it gets a little bit, yeah, it gets muddied. It gets to the point where you're like, wait a minute, who does what now on Oxygen? I can't remember.
Kino did have a standout performance yesterday. Oh no.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness. And there's another,
right.
but Foxe was waiting for him. There were a couple who seemed to be able to pivot very well, but that was Yaga running on in, one of your top performers for OXG, and he is now down for the count, but not all hope is lost. Thomas has really turned this game around. He was, what, 3-6, and now he finds himself at 7-7, leading his team.
Yeah.
Well, he said, no excuses. I need to be better on defense. So far, so good.
Yeah, well, Parker, I mean, I'm done making excuses. That was embarrassing. Drones, I can understand. You're dealing with a Mozzie. He's probably got pests everywhere. But why does the Yana clone not just check C1? How hard is that? Just take a little left and then a right. Oh, wow, there's a Mozzie hiding C1. Let's punish that. No? No. Okay. I mean, it's a trade at least. It could have been worse. Thomas could have gotten 2 kills there quite easily had the reaction from Laxing not been quick enough. So, hey, anyway, moving on. Oxygen can still win this. They only have 35 seconds left, though, to make this bakery attack happen.
Yeah, this round has just absolutely flown by, and OXG of this very linear attack, finally dividends paid for Dream with that ACS in hand and a reload, shuttered for now, waiting for another push from Oxygen. Governing this one doorway, this is a very crucial passage, and another will now join as a grenade, ready, prepped, Dream popping up, but he loses the fight to Kino, 2 for Kino, walking right in, but a third not within reach. Nick stops that one, and the streak is over. So now OXG given away inside a bakery with only 5 seconds to go. We'll need Vertical to get that diffuser down, and there's nobody to watch him as Laxing is punished for it. A keep-away game from the Jaeger of Benji is all that matters, and OXG unable to complete the objective means that timeout or no timeout, Mirage prevail, and we've got a tie game.
That play right there, you saw it, the first one on the replay, caused a lot of problems for Oxygen leading into the rest of the round. You lose your player early on. Thomas has now put you on the back foot. Yes, he is traded out immediately, but still, the kills are often more important in the lead-in for the defense than they are for the attack. The more manpower that is lost for the attack, the more limited their options are when it comes to their execution. For example, we saw a very linear take, as Parker mentioned, going in through Bakery. Now, often, when you have those linear takes, you're going to have 1 or 2 people possibly lurking somewhere else on the map, ready to make a play, maybe from a drop, maybe from a different avenue, doesn't matter. Point is, you can still stack up your manpower and trade each other out as you entry through Bakery door, but if you've got presence elsewhere, all the better, it means you're more likely to catch the defenders off guard on a late play. But if you've lost a player, that's just not going to happen. The defenders, on the other hand, their main priority is coverage and making sure they've got a firm hold on every bottleneck. You can hold those bottlenecks with less manpower than the attack needs to actually assault the bottleneck. So those early trades almost always, not always, but almost always favor the defenders. So Tommy's death and trade out early on, significant. The linear take that follows that up, no side punch, no feint, no nothing, just, hey, Bakery. Comes really late. And the trades, again, they're going to favor the defenders in that scenario. And we see it play out as you would expect.
Stark contrast to what we've seen from a number of teams here on this kitchen site, where at the start of this match, we said, well, it doesn't exactly seem like the most friendly to the defenders, and yet now, for the most part, Kitchen has actually been working out fairly well, at least better than it has been in the past, and the defenders are actually showing some signs of life here. So that said, 30 seconds into round number 11, these teams tying things up. Funny how the timeout didn't immediately work for either teams. Mirage wins their first set of rounds back-to-back in this entire matchup, which is an amazing thing to say, given how deep into the game we are. But it was as good of a time as any to start heating up, I suppose. And honestly, the exception of Nyx dying early those 2 rounds, Mirage have looked like after that timeout, win or lose, they were still able to be a better coordinated team and work together. And hey, they got 2 rounds for it.
Early gas canisters there from Thomas. He'll place the second shield inside. I don't know. Decides to push it further back. Okay. Oh, but there's no. Okay. Interesting rotations here from Mirage. Not necessarily bad, just interesting. Benji's going to take a lot of damage from that challenge on Ticket. That is super dangerous. I think they are going to get the shield. That explosive sounds like it just got it. So with the shield and Pixel dealt with, interestingly, not the ADSs, but at least the shield, that means that it's hard for Mirage to actually justify Pixel pressure. Now, luckily, they did double reinforce the bathroom wall. So getting rid of the defense inside a bathroom is not huge, but look at this. The Habana put to good use to open up that wall and apply more pressure.
Benji over on Lumber, still playing on the same position that he'd played before. You commended him for how quickly he fell off on a previous defense, and
That was
well,
critique.
he cannot be shaken. Sorry?
That was critique. I was critiquing him.
You didn't think he should have fell off as quickly as he did?
Yeah, no, not as quick as he could, because he left one of his teammates stranded inside a freezer. But that was last.
Well,
that was
they'll
a
be
while.
fine. I'm sure they'll be fine. 45 seconds left, by the way, now. And OXG, all still upright. Same with Mirage. Nick's rotating down below. He has no nitro cell, so he'll have to shoot through the floor based on information. If he wants to retake White, he can definitely do that. A grenade goes in. Takes out Thomas. Nearly kills Dream as well. Holding on to that ACS yet again, but presently on his Evil Eye cam. And there goes the alibi as well. Loading will not be able to escape as he's tracked by Kino.
Oh.
Benji avenges him. Looks for more, but over by New Hatch can't accomplish it. Still inside a bar back store, and Marks to give intel. He'll swing. Too much damage for him to be done, and OXG just absolutely dominates and outright wins the round on a frenzy. And with it, they take match point.
Wow, what a round there for OXG. Most of that coming down to just this little hole made by Habana in that bathroom wall. So the reason why that was so relevant is it gets the cut on any aggressive plays that Mirage should want to execute. And, well, Mirage brought out all the aggressive plays. They tried pushing into back bar store twice, and it did not work out either time. So just those holes being so punishing for Oxygen, and the pressure that they could apply over by Nubug and Cigar. The biggest thing I have to, give to Oxygen for that round is the fact that they had a full array of coverage. They constantly had Cigar pressure, constantly have Nubug pressure. They're using the holes that they opened up inside of that bathroom wall. No one can get aggressive on Whitehall. Oxygen's got it covered. All that coverage, followed by the lead-off pick from that nade, means that Oxygen were constantly in the driver's seat throughout the engagement. And Mirage, they tried to make plays to correct course, but those plays were countered before they even happened, again, thanks to that hole in bathroom wall.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Crucial final round, and guess where we're going to go?
Before insertion.
Kitchen.
Mining, Michael.
Attackers must locate
Top
and
floor.
defuse a bomb.
No.
Reading. Final
Mining.
answer. Final
Mining.
answer. Reading.
With the match on the line and overtime within their grasp, Mirage will go to the one bomb site they have not lost thus far, whether they were on attack or defense. So down to mining they go. Successful twice on attack.
Ruh-roh.
And, well, this happened last time, though. Blood for the Blood God. And Nick's sacrifice was in order. And by Jove, we have this round beginning the same way that the last defense on mining began.
Yeah. So, not... it's actually a good sign for Mirage, as you say, Parker. Just a little bit of Nick sacrifice in the morning. You got to get it out of the way. With that done, now Mirage are shooing, of course. We'll see how they manage it. Benji trying to play up by Pixel. He is not the lone roamer. He's got one assisting player inside a cocktail. That's Thomas. So a duo roam upstairs. Means that there's only potentially 2 anchors right now for Mirage. We'll see if Oxygen choose to exploit that or if they want to go for the full clear.
Thomas playing on this Ella by the drop hatch. He can very easily get out of there. And this is the same spot that he was on before.
Bomb
Yep.
located by
Benji,
attackers.
familiar position. On top of lumber, pallets, wood, whatever people want to call it. I've heard of variety. Top level.
Whitehall.
Whitehall as well. Dream
Yeah.
on White Stairs, not too far away from Benji. He could be the first in the line of fight, and there's some bullets that just graze the head of one of the OXG players inside of the bathroom. At such short range, that carbine can just do a ton of damage. So if you're Benji, not getting pushed off of that position, ultimately quite good. Mirage are just waiting very patiently.
Yeah, and patience is the name of the game here, Parker, as it doesn't seem like Oxygen have the answer for how they're going to push these guys out. But look at this. It's train control, and Foxe going for the plant as Mirage gets 2 kills on the drop. Nice shot there from Kino, locking it down inside a train. He's got the power play position. Now it's on Mirage to retake in the last 40 seconds.
And Foxe sitting on top of this diffuser, waiting, just playing shrewdly around the bomb chassis. The Castle's the one there to greet him if they swing on each other, but I don't know if Dream is aware of the position. He'll walk in, air jab hits him yet again, and instead of taking that engagement, Foxe repositions, doing really well, and there it is! The OXG cleanup! Boy, oh boy, that one was mighty close, but was there really any doubt in the dying seconds of that round? 7-5 as OXG stays in first place.
Big win there for OXG, and especially important that they avoided overtime. They didn't want to lose out on those points, and they certainly did not. So OXG taking that one home to the bank, and Foxe, he was the bottom performer in the last match, but this time he's the top performer. You got to love the depth on Oxygen and their ability to transfer over the buck to whoever needs to, pick up the slack on the day.
Absolutely. OXG made some role swaps, and they're going to take some time to settle in, but they are looking quite confident. I mean, Mirage are not world beaters in the NAL, but TSM certainly can be, and these 2 victories only further cement the fact that OXG will almost certainly be going to the 6 Invitational, but also are one of the best teams in the NAL. And, well, I mean, what more are you able to say about this OXG squad? I think most of the players showed up today. Mirage, incredible signs of improvement on their side of things, and a big step up from their match yesterday against Space Station.
Yeah, Mirage are definitely on the up and up. I think they're going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable with Thomas. Thomas in particular, he played a lot better today than he did yesterday, so that's awesome to see. You love to have Tommy, Vibe Master, Supreme First Class, coming out strong. On the side of Oxygen, again, I want to see them carry this success through the whole stage, Parker. They don't do it enough. You see Oxygen come out swinging so often and then have a lot of troubles in their mid to late stage. So I want to see a top 4 Oxygen for this stage, and it looks like we're getting the building blocks of that. We'll find out if it actually happens later, obviously.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we're only 2 days in now, and not even 2 full days in, because we've still got 2 more matches to play. Up next is Astralis versus XSET. That's going to be an exciting matchup, and I think the desk hyped it up as the match to watch today. Before we can get there, though, we've got an analyst segment for you and a break, and we know you want to get to it, so do we. Before we get there, let's go to a break, and then we'll be right back.
What does it take to call next? Follow us for a deep dive into the Rainbow Six community, breaking down barriers, taking you behind the scenes, and showing what it means to level up.
If you want to get better, try reviewing your game footage. Insights.gg's game capture tool makes recording and reviewing fast and easy. With no lag, automatic recording, and instant highlights, it's never been easier to learn from your gameplay. Try it for free at insights.gg today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NAL. We're going to break down what exactly happened in that game, but with Oxygen pulling out that win on Kafe, it was incredible. But with the replays brought to you by the beautiful people over at Predator, fellas, Jesse and Jacob, help me break this down.
Good game overall from both squads. I felt like this was an improvement on Mirage's performance from yesterday, even though it was a loss, but this was OXG locking in 3 halves on 1 and then 4 attack rounds almost straight off the back of some really good performances from Yaga on Sledge. It felt like it was old hat, and this is the kind of OXG that we need to see week in and week out.
Yeah, this was fantastic that Oxygen are going to get back on their horse, get 2 big wins in a row. I will say Mirage, definitely exceeded my expectations. I thought this was going to be a rough game for them, but 5 rounds, and they looked solid, especially throughout that first half. So, hats off to them. It's not a win. 1 more would have at least gotten them a point through OT, but unfortunately, it is what it is.
Right, but take a look at the stats right now. And Jesse, remember you and I were calling out Vertical. We were saying, yo, we're waiting for Vertical to get comfortable with this team. 12 kills last Playday on top with Kino. And once again, the man is on top with 14 kills, 8 deaths. But that's not it. 3 opening kills and a 92% calls. But Jacob, you actually wanted to touch a bit on roster changes now that we're on this screen. What came to mind when you watched this game, man?
So we are definitely
role
seeing
changes. I'm sorry.
No. You're good. You're good. So we're looking at something consistent from games 1 to 2, and that is Kino hard sticking the Ash on attack. I think that's the right move. OXG needed some way to adapt around their situation that wasn't working for them in stage 2, and I like Kino on that role, even if in both games he wasn't nearly like chart topping. He wasn't at the top of the lobby. Yaga's performance in this game was different than yesterday because it's not Clubhouse. He was playing more Sledge. He had 4 opening frags, 3 of which came right in a row, which was really nice to see. But overall, I do think that what we saw from yesterday was definitely more of a reaction to how you have to play a double hard breach set on Clubhouse, and that might not be consistent overall. So if Yaga ever goes back to Ace, it's probably just a Clubhouse thing.
Wait, but Jacob, this is the thing, though. You said Yaga was playing Sledge, and he had all that freedom. But take a look at the opening kills for him as well. 4 of them? 4 to 2? That's incredible. 6 opening engagements for him. That's not anything I'd expect.
No, it's a big deal. I think sometimes it felt like a lot of it was coming from like window repels and he was getting like initial kills, 2 of which happened on Nyx. He had 3 of them right in a row, and it was almost a 3-round win streak from OXG until Mirage kind of brought things back on a mining retake. So it looked like OXG had everything well in hand. They got the opening kill. Mirage were not in position for trades. That was also consistent. If Yaga got that opening kill, someone else didn't have his refrag, because what are you going to do against it, like someone who gets a kill from a piano repel unless you're going to run out? That was never the case, I think, for OXG. They had everything perfectly scouted, and if Mirage won rounds, it came down to a retake or disrupting some of that initial aggression from OXG when they were in the building. But with Yaga and repel, really, what can you do?
Oh, definitely. Now, Jesse, now we can talk about how great Oxygen was in this matchup as well, but
Of course.
you noticed a little weakness as well, man, and it's something that should be pointed out. What happened when it came to those mining hoes?
Yeah, I mean, Oxygen tried twice to hold into the mining and dining bomb site. They failed both times, and it was really unfortunate to watch because these were rounds that they just weren't on that side of the map. Great from Mirage to be able to recognize the weak spot in that defense. The first time there's only one player in there in the 5v5, they go in, they get that kill, they rush in through mining, through down red stairs, and also through the mining window, and they make that happen. And then they come back to the bomb site in round 6. I'm like, all right, well, Oxygen, they're not making that mistake twice. And then like a minute and a half into the round, you see just like the 4 players that are live on Mirage or on Oxygen, all on the other side of the map. They're like all in reading or they're upstairs in cocktail. And it's like, guys, they're just going to go into mining again. And 5 seconds later, they all jump through the mining window. They get the exact same plant down. So I'm struggling with the fact that Oxygen not only aren't successfully being able to defend mining, but also like they're losing the same way time and time again. That was a big flaw, I thought, in the mining defenses from OXG. Ultimately, it didn't matter too bad. Their other defenses were still strong, but it's something that they should, try to work on throughout future games.
Now, full disclaimer, Jesse said, I want to talk about this because it's really important, but Oxygen, they're playing so well. But if they were able to better their gameplay when it came to playing mining, I mean, they could look a whole lot better. And talking about looking a whole lot better, Jacob, this is the second time we've seen Mirage now. A really good game, by the way. Is there still area of improvement that you would like to see with anything specific at all? Because this team just seems to be getting better every play day now.
I think if Thomas gets off to a bit of a hotter start, then maybe all of Mirage can kind of like take a cue from him and see if they can't work like that momentum into their game. It's almost like Mirage, in a similar way to Astralis, are teams that are at least a little bit momentum based. And Thomas he was like 3 and I forget, like he had 3 kills and then he brought it back to like 7 and 7, only 4 rounds later. So there is constant improvement, but for Mirage, you need a little bit of a hotter start than that. I think they kept things closer with OXG, but if you manage to get like a 4-2 or attacking half, that's where things could have very well solidified. This game might have been going to OT if it was just one more round on Mirage's first half. But yeah, I believe this is better so far than what we saw from them on Clubhouse yesterday. It's slow improvement. We'll see if next week pans out better.
Right now, Jesse, you actually, I'm going to be completely honest. I love this whole replay feature that we've been incorporating into the NAL. It's been very fruitful and informative. And you have another one, and it has to do with Mirage and their individual play. Now, was it good or bad?
So Mirage, I mean, it was there. They were loving these spots where they were able to get super aggressive and play in individual positions. We can bring it up on the screen, hopefully, and get into this one as we'll see the first round being played off. This is a bottom floor defense, and they're going to try to clear it out with the flashbangs. It is going to be this sledge up above, or sorry, the buck up above Nyx going for this kill, and everything relies on Nyx winning that 1v1. The whole point for him to win that 1v1 is to stop the other player from denying the plant. These other 2 plays on defense are really just facts of these roamers being way too extended. They're not in the right position, and it's really unfortunate to see.
Right now, Jacob, looking forward with Oxygen as well. They're on top of the leaderboards now, man. They're on top of the rankings. We haven't seen this in stage 1. This type of consistency, it doesn't seem to be like a flash in the pan. Do you think that they're for real this time? They're going to be top 4 and they're going to try to regain their spot on that throne on top of NA?
I think so, because Siege is a game of very subtle adjustments over time, and in Stage 1, OXG did great. No one figured them out. Stage 2, they definitely got figured out. Stage 3 is looking like more of an uphill climb, and that's not just because OXG right now sit in first place in the North American League. It's just the idea of understanding the small things that you can change, if it meets with success in scrims versus if it meets success on game day. We saw TSM yesterday not have a very good outing trying to go up against an OXG team that was playing very fast and heavy, very aggressive, in your face, almost smash mouthy in a way. It's not something that they had to worry about in this game because Mirage is not the same caliber of opponent as TSM has been historically. They understand how to read the guys that they're playing into. They had good map selections, I think, both times this week alone. So it's just the small things for OXG. Let this continue into next week, maybe even 2 dubs, depending on if they've got a bye. I'll have to check the schedule again. But yeah, this is looking pretty good so far.
You're right, Jake, with the small things are meaning a lot when it comes to the big picture. But let's talk about the community poll. And Jesse, I'm going to let you go first on this one, okay?
Sure.
Both Foxe and Thomas are known for getting loud, especially Thomas, right?
Yeah.
But who will make the most noise in the server?
Good one.
I think it was Fox that was a little bit more explosive. Thomas was good too.
Okay.
Again, we've got a case where these two players weren't the most explosive for their teams. I will say, if Auction were winning more rounds, that's probably more of a incentive to jump up out of your seat on the stage and get loud at your opponent. So in real life, you might have been a little louder today.
Jacob, how crazy is it going to be when Mirage gets that 1 win and just we see Thomas just go crazy on the stage? We know it's coming, right?
Oh, it'll happen. No, I'm just remembering the last time it was Thomas versus OXG, and that was back when he was on XSET. That was like week 1, and they were up and screaming at one another the entire game. It was really funny. But no, I do agree. I think Foxe definitely had more done today on the server.
Well, the winner was definitely Foxe with 60% of the votes. If you guys want to be involved in the
Twitter got it right.
polls, make sure you go to Twitter. We're going to have a lot more fun things to include in that, by the way. But coming up next, we're going to have XF facing off against Astralis again. And once again, fellas, it still feels so good to say that name. Jacob, do you think Astralis might turn the ship around for this match?
That depends. They were a very aggressive team getting shut down by a resurgent Sonics, and XSET didn't really have a good fare against Beast Coast yesterday, so it's really hard to call because neither team really had much going for them yesterday, so this should be cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we broke down the first game. It's been good so far with an Oxygen win, but coming up next, like we said, XSET versus Astralis.